Yes! It's finally here, the Nofx review. Hey guys, what's up? This punk guy here. Thanks for joining me back on my review channel. I'm very super excited to review this because Nofx has and always will be my favorite band of all time. And I know this album dropped like 2 months ago almost, and I'm barely doing the review for it now because they barely shipped out the vinyls. I know there was a late process with all the COVID stuff. Anyway, besides the point, before we get into the review, I just want to say, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Give it a thumbs up if you like this content. And also go ahead and add me on Instagram at @thispunkguy if you want to see more of my stuff. But let's get right into Nofx's review that I finally get to do. Single album, which is Nofx's 14th full-length album. Here's the front, here's the back of the LP. There's 10 tracks on here. It was released on Fat Records, of course. Their last album was a split with Frank Turner about 6 or 7 months ago. I'll put a link to that. And everyone knows the joke on it's kind of lost, but the fact that it was supposed to be a double album, they were going to call it single album. Haha, get it. But it ended up just being a single album, so that hence the title, single album. So as much as I'm excited to review this album, I'm also a little bit hesitant to because what really hasn't already been said about this album? It's been 2 months, and I feel like everything about this album has been talked to front to back. What new can I possibly say about it? But they released these slowly during the beginning of last year with COVID, and even came up with a few music videos for these. So you kind of already know what you're getting into before the album was even out. I mean, I think I heard like 7 songs out of these 10 tracks. This album is getting their best universal praises from everyone on this album. People calling it their best album.
Is it their best album?
I claim that Fat Mike's writing has definitely become a lot more prolific, a lot more astute and in-depth. He kind of does a bunch of different things that I don't think I've ever seen any punk bands do before. He's no longer doing that kind of like 4-chord structure and typical melodies that you expect from a punk band. Hell, even half the songs on here don't even have choruses. If anything, I would call this album really similar to like a prog rock album. I mean, this is like the prog rock of punk rock. And this album has been labeled their darkest album. Is it their darkest album? Maybe, yeah. I mean, it does, to me, still fit in with Nofx's sensibility and humor for sure. One of my favorite things that Fat Mike's always been able to do is the ability to turn a phrase and use these words as double meanings, double entendres, puns, and stuff like that. Songs like Fuck Euphemism on here are definitely great representations of that as well. Now, there are many tracks on here I think that everyone's already talked to death about on here. One of them being Linoleum, which is Linoleum Remade. Fuck Euphemism, which has a great video to it. So I think a lot of these tracks have already been talked about. So instead, I'm just going to give you my top 3 favorite tracks off this album. My third favorite track is Fish in a Gun Barrel, and this is going to be their only reggae-style sounding album. When I talk about Fat Mike's writing, this is one of them I'm talking about. I love his visceral attack on the right-wing evangelical Christians and gun control laws and the gun lobbying and kind of their NRA stance. He holds nothing back, which is kind of funny because if you think about, you know, all the debacle that happened over at Punk Rock Bowling, we all know what that was about. You could see what his real true stance is and how much he's actually opposed to a lot of the stuff that they were accusing him of being. And I really love the sound that El Jefe brings to this reggae track. It's very heavy, very sharp, and I just love the conclusion of this track. Only a lunatic would sell a lunatic a gun. To me, that's just mic drop stuff right there. Definitely just fuck you, mic drop. Now my second favorite track on here, I always have a hard time pronouncing it, My Cancer Veer Cancer. Now this is what I love about Nofx so much, is their ability to take a dark subject matter and really just turn it into a comical, humorous antidote. And I really just love the lead guitar on this track too. The way it just kind of like flows into the melody so perfectly. I know there's a whole story about this guy. This guy is like a real life character, and I know that they wrote another song about him as well, talking about how he kind of duped a bunch of other people. I would really like to hear that song one day come out. I know he's not going to release it, not anytime soon, but it's kind of interesting to see. If you guys don't know who he is or what it was about, I'm pretty sure you can Google it and find out. It's pretty crazy stuff. Favorite track on here is definitely Grieving Soto. I'm happy that Mike found time to give respect to such a great, awesome bass player. Rest in peace, Steve Soto. Not only looks at the life of Steve Soto, but he kind of turns it on himself to self-reflect on how he's going to be perceived when he passes. Steve Soto died with such great admiration for everyone. Fat Mike wants to know that he'll have just as much love like that when he dies, because he knows he's an asshole, he knows he's kind of a jerk, and he doesn't take things seriously, and people look at him that way, and it's a self-reflection of himself reminding himself to, you know, be a better person, while at the same time he's giving a backhanded compliment to the punk scene. I love the end of this track when the guitars are just ringing out and they're just singing Steve Soto's name over and over again. It's very haunting. And the LP version is even better because Fat Mike is telling a story of how he first met Steve Soto. And I was listening to this at like midnight when I first got it in, came back from work, and I was cracking up hysterically. It's so funny and such a great story. I'm so glad it's only on the LP. So if you have it on digital, you're not going to get it. So you got to get the LP. So in conclusion, this album is definitely the most unique NoFX album that's ever come out. From the writing, the chord progressions, to even the melodies. It's something very, very different. First Ditch Effort, you can see a little bit of sprinkling of that, and here it's full force. So the question is, in my opinion, is it worth the hype? The answer to that is yes and no. I will say I do respect the hell out of this album. Now there are a few tracks that I don't really care for, Doors and Floors and The Big Drag. No matter how much that track is celebrated, to me, I just didn't get it. I just didn't really care for it. And I don't think there's any reason why this album shouldn't be overhyped. But it's not a perfect album, in my opinion. So the new NoFX, I'm going to go ahead and give a 4.5 stars out of 5 stars, which is still a fucking great rating. With that being said, this album being out for over a month now, I kind of feel like it doesn't have the legs for a long staying power, which is my biggest pet peeve about it. Albums like First Ditch Effort, I repeatedly listen to over and over and over. It has quickly dropped from my playlist quicker than any other NoFX album has. You're wrong, guys. I love NoFX. Any NoFX is good NoFX to me, so I do like this album. As experimental as this album is, I'm very excited to see what their next album that they're writing currently right now is. I know it's going to be more experimental, more different than the stuff they come up with, but hell, you kind of need that. And with this band going for as long as they have, over 30 years, 40 years, what new band still writes great albums when they come out? Not too many. And they write mediocre albums. Looking at you, Bad Religion. That not being the point. The point being is NoFX still writes great, solid albums, and they're one of the few bands with the longevity that I actually really, really look forward to hearing something new and different from them. Alright guys, so that was my review. I hope you guys liked it. Now, with this album being out over a month now, I'm sure everybody has an opinion on this. So let me know what your opinion is. Your favorite track, your least favorite track. What did you guys think of this review? Leave a comment, let me know. And like I said, give this album a thumbs up, and please share it with other people. I would love my numbers to grow on here. And that's it pretty much, guys. I got a lot of reviews coming up, so I'm very excited about that. And until then, guys, like always, I'll see you at a show! So I hope you guys liked that review. This was supposed to be a short review. Like always, it ends up being a longer review. But anyways, if you guys like that, please click on another video of my reviews. I got a whole playlist, so check it out. I got some good reviews coming up, and I'll see you in the next one.